In this exercise, we're going to be discussing drawing arcs. Earlier, when we were talking about drawing lines, we talked about the fact that if you draw a line out and then you hover over the end of the line before you start the next segment and hold down your mouse button, you can actually draw an arc. If you need to change the direction of this arc, the easiest way to do it is to go back through the origin point, basically the end of that last line. If I go back through the origin point in different directions, it'll change how the arc reacts to my line. I come and rub on this line, for example, it wants to go make sure that it's tangent to it. If I pull it straight down, it'll be perpendicular to it. You can see the center point of my arc is trying to ride on that line because it's trying to add that geometric constraint automatically for me. I don't have to create a full arc. I can stop the arc short of the connector line, or I can come all the way around and get my connection like we've been doing before. The other options with the arcs are to manually draw them out as a 3-point arc, tangent arc, and a center point arc. A 3-point arc, I select each end of the arc that I want to draw, and then I pull it out. You can see there I can get 2 tangents, or for whatever reason, I don't have to select the tangent command, and I can create almost a full circle with the arc. The next option is to go up and select tangent arc. I select the ends of an object that I want it to be tangent to, and it'll create that tangency for me. Now, if you'll notice, it only automatically created the tangency on that first arc. You have to be careful. Even though technically it is tangent here, there isn't a tangent constraint. So if I were to move this arc around or move this other line around, you'll notice there's no tangency there. I would need to manually come up and create a tangency to get that second tangency to kick in. Sometimes whenever you're drawing this out with a tangent arc, you can get it to automatically create that for you. But be careful, it doesn't always pick that up. The other option with the arc is the center point arc. So where you can select the center of it first, and then come and draw the outer edges of it. And you can see there, controlled the size of it, but I was able to keep it in line in an angle there to this other line. So now if I draw a line from the center point to this end point, you can see that the arc end is perfectly aligned with that second line input. It's very easy to use. Another option that I consider part of an arc are the splines. You don't really have a whole lot of need for splines in Inventor. A lot of machine tools don't like splines. And there's not a whole lot of times where you're just freeform creating. But if you ever do need to freeform create with Inventor, the spline tool is very powerful. After you draw out the spline, you can grab the grips here and tweaking the spline to do what you need it to do. With the spline command, there are 3 different options. You have interpolated, control vertex, and bridge curve. So as I draw this out, say create there. The interpolated looks more like what you'd see when you create a spline with AutoCAD. And then the spline that is the control vertex looks more like what you'd see when you do a polyline and then spline it. The bridge curve allows you to do a G2 continuous curve between 2 selected curves. G2 is a mathematical equation based fillet that continuously carries on the same arc. Think of like a mouse that you're probably using on that computer. You know, at some point that mouse breaks and there's a curve there, but it's such a smooth transition that you never see the edge of that curve. And that's what that bridge curve allows you to do with the spline tool, is create that perfectly smooth curve. You'll notice throughout Inventor, there are several places where you have that G2 option under constraints. And then when we get into filleting later on, you'll see it again. And that's what that is. It's that perfectly smooth, very common in consumer products. And it's whenever you don't want to see the break from the arc to the line. One last thing with arcs is you can actually take and put text around an arc. If I select an arc here and give it a text, you can see that this text will follow that arc. So I move that arc around, that text will always stay associated to it. It's very important if you're creating an electrode tool or emboss on a part and be able to have that text follow along with an arc.